Welcome to the Parenting on the Spectrum show with board-certified behavior analyst and infant-toddler development specialist, Teresa Alexander Inman. Parenting on the Spectrum dives into real stories, challenges, and triumphs, offering invaluable insights and support for families on your unique journey. Let's get into the episode.
Oh, welcome. I think we had a little technical glitch right there. Yeah, welcome. Today, my guest is Dr. Yana Kleyman. She is a functional medicine former pharmacist who turned functional medicine doctor who helps neurodivergent children control symptoms without medicine. Welcome, Dr. Yana. Hi, can you hear me, Yana?
Hi, Teresa.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, can you hear me okay? I cannot hear you.
Oh, I can hear you. Hold on. I don't know why you can't hear me. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes. Loud and clear.
Okay, awesome. Technology.
Hey, it's Monday morning.
It is. Yeah. Oh, you know what, Yana? We released this on Thursdays. So
All right. Yeah. So tech not working in our favor.
It's cool. I'll see if I can take that little part out. I don't know. We'll see. If not, it's all right. Okay. So welcome. Yeah. So you went from pharmacist to functional medicine doctor. Tell me why.
Yeah, it is. It's not something that I was ever planning on doing. Actually, back when I was a pharmacist, I didn't even know functional medicine existed. I was happy doing what I was doing because I wanted to be in healthcare. I wanted to be helping people, and that's what I thought I was doing. And at the age of 33, my health took a turn for the worse. I just went from being a really healthy person. I never had any health issues, no conditions, no diagnoses, to suddenly not being able to function in my daily life. I was in constant pain, had extreme weakness. I would collapse midday. I went to a ton of specialists. I did so many workups, so much blood work. And then finally, I remember sitting in this top doctor in New York City, highly regarded, highly recommended, at the top of his field, and he diagnosed me with multiple autoimmune conditions. And he even told me, oh, you're not textbook. This is actually worse than, how it's supposed to present. I was like, oh my gosh. And he tells me that I would have to be on medication for the rest of my life to manage this. And even so, he looks me dead in the eye and he's like, you might be bedridden within 10 years. And he just walks out. He's like, I have to give you the first injections in the office because you needed to start this yesterday. And he just walks out. And I'm sitting there, I'm 33. Both my kids were toddlers. My youngest was 1.5. And I'm like, oh my God, how is this my life? How is this? What am I going to do? What are the recitals, running around with my kids, teaching them stuff, the mom I always thought I was going to be. All of that just was shattered. And then my pharmacist brain, I guess, was like, well, there's this whole list of side effects, might help you with your autoimmune conditions, but all of these other things, can't travel, illnesses, sicknesses, all infections, all of this stuff. And I was like, you know what? I don't know what it was in that moment because I'm a science brain person, data driven. I didn't know what else was out there, but I just knew that this couldn't be it. And so by the time he was back, I was stressed. I was ready to go. I said, thank you so much. I'll follow up with you. And I left that office. And as it turns out, I never went back. I found functional medicine. I dove into the work. I was the best patient. I did absolutely all the lifestyle changes, the diet changes, everything I was told to do because I had everything to lose. This was my life. And I thought it was going to take years. I was told that it was going to take a whole lifetime to manage this condition. I got better within months.
Wow.
Within 3 months, I started to notice improvement. By 6, I was already feeling like myself, and it's been almost 10 years later. It isn't my life. The reality that was laid before me isn't real. And I'm so grateful. But that experience threw me into functional medicine. Like I couldn't go back into a pharmacy behind the counter, dispense pills to people and call that health. I just couldn't do it. And so I studied, I retrained, I got into functional medicine. I have, multiple certifications. I specialize in pediatrics and neurodiversity because I'm passionate about improving our kids' lives so that they don't find themselves in a doctor's office in their 20s and 30s with a major breakdown. And we kind of know our kids with ADHD, autism, other neurodevelopmental disorders, they're not set up for success. And when they don't get the help they need at a young age, there's more chances of them having, all kinds of breakdowns in the future, from poor relationships, higher divorce rates, higher rates of accidents because of that impulsivity and risky behavior. And unfortunately, the statistics on suicide are just so scary in our neurodiverse population. And so it is my mission to change that trajectory of their lives, to help them when they're young. And the same principles that helped me can help their brains thrive. And the way we're looking at neurodiversity is just completely, in my opinion, we've got it all wrong in conventional medicine.
I agree. And I wish we could take the word disorder out of ASD, because it's not a disorder. People think differently. Things are going on differently in their bodies. And with functional medicine, we can change that. And I can say that confidently as well, because one of my friends, Jerry Hammond, his daughter has an autism diagnosis, and she went from non-vocal, having a lot of tantrums, and just really having a challenging time navigating the world. And when he found a functional medicine doctor, everything changed for her. He shows on TikTok how the vegetables and the fruits and the different things that he buys, and now she's vocal. And things have just changed dramatically because of that. So thank you so much for what you do.
Teresa, thank you. For having me here, just spreading the message and letting parents know that they have options beyond meds is really what it's all about. A lot of the interventions are free. They're available. They're things that, people can try in their homes tomorrow, to help their kids. I think doctors are not talking about it. Not enough people are talking about it. And so often kids just get a diagnosis, a label, and the parents are handed a prescription.
Yes. I see that a lot.
Yeah. And it may be okay for some. It may work for, some kids. And I always say, parents need to do whatever it is that we need to do to help our kids. Mm-hmm. And I never say never to anything.
Right.
So if they need the medication and it's working for them, great. But that medication is not a substitute for helping whatever's going on in their body. If they're depleted in nutrients, Adderall is not going to replete them. If they've got inflammation, the medication's not going to take that down. And so it's always going to be an uphill battle. Even if they are on medication, we still need to address the root cause. But more so for the kids who are failing on medication, who have tried one, then another one was added, then they get side effects, like loss of appetite is the big one. So guess what happens? They get prescribed another medication to enhance their appetite. And then if they, start sleeping poorly as another side effect, then they're going to get another medication added on to help them calm. And sometimes you see like an 8-9-year-old with 4 different medications, and the parents still don't see the symptoms being controlled. So what do? And they don't have an answer for that. There's no answer. That's when the parents feel hopeless and they think that their child is broken. There's something wrong with their child. Well, how come, medication, how come medicine can't help my child, but it helps others? And that is just simply not true.
Yep, so true. And what can help them then? What are some things that you would recommend that a parent can do today to help their child?
So in my world, the best thing that I feel you can do is get tested. And that is, I mean, I've worked with so many families, and what I've realized is the missing piece, because a lot of people are trying things. A lot of people are trying to change their diet, maybe supplements here and there, but it's not working because we're guessing. We're looking at generalities of what may work, like fish oil is good or gluten is bad, or, but what works for one person may not work for another. Functional medicine is based on the principle of bio-individuality. We are all, N of one. We are all different. And so the way we approach our health needs to be different. And so I'm a huge, huge advocate for functional medicine testing. Nutrigenomics is something that I recommend everybody to get, because it allows us to really see what foods are good for this specific person, what foods are bad, what pathways are impacted. Like we hear a lot for people who are in this world, and parents who are doing research, they hear so much about MTHFR, and they're like, oh my gosh, it's so bad if you have MTHFR. I'm like, we all have MTHFR. Is how well is it functioning or not? But that's like one gene, that's one piece of a really, really big puzzle. And so I'm not focused on one thing. I'm looking at the pathways. What's the detoxification pathway looking like? The mitochondria, methylation, inflammation. And based on that, we can tailor a food plan, a lifestyle plan, supplement plan, nutrients, and on top of that, okay, now what is going in real time? Because genomics, our genetics, that's our blueprint. It doesn't change, right? Whether you test at 2 or 22, 52, it's going to be the same. But what is going on in real time? What has affected our genes? Is it our environment? Maybe it's pesticides and herbicides and toxins that accumulate in the body. Maybe it's deficiencies in nutrients. And we know, like from studies, that neurodiverse kids have a deficiency in key nutrients like zinc, magnesium, iron, very often vitamin D. Even if they can't explain why it happens more so in our neurodiverse kids, they're already starting off not having the nutrients. And these aren't just nice to have nutrients. They're must have nutrients for dopamine production, for, our bodies, our brain, our hormones. And so if they're deficient, nothing else you do is going to work. We need to be able to replete those nutrients. And of course, the drivers of inflammation, because everything that we're talking about that drives inflammation in the body increases neuroinflammation in the brain, and that is how we see symptoms. And a huge, huge piece of that is our gut. When we look at our autistic kids, their microbiome is different from, let's say, I really hate labels, but for the sake of conversation, is different from neurotypical kids. Yes. They have less beneficial bacteria and more pathogenic bacteria, which drives inflammation. There's actually a study where they transplanted the microbiota from autistic individuals into mice that didn't have any autistic traits, and those mice developed autistic traits. Right. This is like huge. It's not the microbiome maybe plays a role. Like it's, there may be like a cause and effect here where the microbiome is one of the main drivers of the symptoms that conventional medicine looks at as a brain issue. And, this isn't about like curing autism or ADHD, but it's about removing biological obstacles so that our kids' brains can function optimally. And we know like that there are these links, and we can definitely help them through diet, through lifestyle, through nutrients, through supplementation.
Wow. And, it sounds so simple. And I know, how important the testing is. My sister and I actually both were tested, and we found that, our bodies metabolize foods differently, and the supplements that benefited her I didn't need them. Or, just the way our bodies, like for instance, for me, sugar turns into bad cholesterol in my body. And for her, it turns into fat. So it's like, there are things that I was told to avoid and things, have this raw. She's got to have hers steamed. And it was really fascinating to find out, just making these lifestyle changes, changes in how we prepare food can help change our lives.
Yes, there really are so many nuances, which is, why the testing is important and knowing what we all need as individuals. There are things that are more generalized that we can do that are going to move the needle forward regardless in our health. Like, for example, the diet, right? When we talk about the gut, like that's the place where the external world meets our internal world. Like, right? We're constantly consuming food, and is it food or is it junk? Like, what are we consuming? Is it food or is it chemicals? And removing ultra processed foods is for everyone. But the way these foods affect our neurodiverse kids is a lot more obvious because it shows in their behavior. It shows in their communication. It shows in their focus. And so because it's got things like seed oils, which are highly inflammatory. So we're adding fuel to the fire. They're already inflamed. And we're just, by eating those things, they're adding more fuel to that sugar, which the glucose spikes. So we know that ADHD kids have an abnormal reaction to sugar. So a lot of them will spike and then drop really low. Some of them actually, after eating sugary foods, their glucose will drop, reactive hypoglycemia, which is, of course, going to affect mood and cognition, right? Things like food dyes and preservatives, sodium benzoate. There's so many things in there. Soda, which is going to deplete our vitamins. Like, we're actually depleting the vitamins that we need, like magnesium and B vitamins, by having these foods. And so these kids are already depleted, are having ultra processed food, and they're further depleting those nutrients. They're having things in there that are causing more inflammation. So adding in whole foods. And like you said, it's not always easy. These are simple things, but they're not easy always to implement in our daily lives, especially for parents. We're busy, we're working, we're juggling a gazillion things. And so I always say, just start with what you can add instead of what you're going to take away. What can you add at breakfast? Like, think of protein first instead of sugar first. So maybe instead of cereal, you can have some eggs, or give your kids some eggs. As a snack, add in some blueberries in there as their snack for school. And so start adding in the good stuff. And that is going to just organically push away some of the bad stuff that they're consuming, and start training their palate too, because a lot of these kids are such picky eaters. Mm-hmm. And they can always rely, right, on this food to taste the same, feel the same, look the same, and smell the same. Our whole foods don't have those characteristics. Your blueberries might be sweet today, tart tomorrow, mushier, crunchier, right? And that's shocking to a child who's not used to eating these things. And so you've got to stick with it. You've just got to keep, giving it to your kids. They might hate it. They might, not want it one day, and you just keep trying it and keep adding those whole foods in. That's probably the first and most important thing. The other thing is, what are they drinking? Because a lot of them drink their sugar, drink the colors, drink the flavors, and just substituting that for water, clean water, filtered water, or bottled water. Because a lot of the water is just, you're getting so many things in the water that are bad. So just substitute clean water for whatever else it is that your child is drinking. And secondly, movement. Movement has been shown to improve focus, behavior, cognition, just as much as medications. Just as much. So, like, do you rather give them a pill that can have a ton of side effects, or just get them moving for like 30 minutes a day? And it doesn't have to be like exercise. Oh, you got to go to your room and do, like 20 push-ups. Like, no, ride a bike, go outside, like anything they love to do, kick a ball around, play catch with them.
Wow. Those are very simple to hear. And then I hear a parent, well, my child only eats, such and such brand chicken nuggets. How can I get them to try something different? Because every time I do, they're not. And I usually answer, well, they're not going to go to the store to buy those chicken nuggets. So maybe if we just leave food lying around that we want them to try, that might help. And it has helped a lot of families that I work with. Just leave it there. Just put it, without saying eat this or eat that, just put it there. And then you walk by and try it as your day goes by. And maybe they'll be curious enough to try it and realize they like it. Maybe.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a journey, and consistency is definitely one of those things. And I love what you said. It's not like they're going to go and get it. So if you don't have it in the house, they're not going to be exposed to it. And as you start introducing different things into the household, they're going to organically try it. They might hate it. You've got to try it again. It could take like something up to 20 times of trying the same food for a child to accept it. And the other thing is, sometimes we try to make these really big leaps from like a certain brand of chicken nuggets to having a grilled chicken breast. Like that's a huge leap. And so we got to kind of think of it as in more baby steps. Like maybe from store-bought chicken nuggets, we can make homemade chicken nuggets, try to make them look similar, crunchy, fried, still have those characteristics. Then maybe move to, roasted chicken, and slowly kind of inch your way to what we think about as real chicken, and not a processed chicken nugget. And it takes time. So you got to have some patience, consistency. And I think what works so well is when you implement these changes as a family, right? Because if mom and dad are having chicken nuggets, like how are you going to get your 6-year-old to have a roasted chicken, right? Or eat blueberries if you're eating a bag of chips on the go, right? So you've got to show them, you got to model this behavior, and it's great for everybody in the family anyway. Everybody's going to benefit from it.
Absolutely. And it takes a little preparation. However, I think in the end, it's worth it when you look at quality of life, right, and health. And my friend Jerry, who I told you about, what he also did, because, people always say, well, healthy food's expensive. He actually he went, purchased all these fruits and vegetables, put them on a table, and he said, this is how much that costs. Right? When you think of the chips and the pop and all the different things, when you add those up, they end up being more expensive than getting, like maybe in the moment, it seems to be more cost effective. But then when you look at, okay, I get a pound of this and it lasts me this long, instead of I get a bag of chips and it lasts me, plus the health issues that come along with it.
Right. Yeah. And there are ways, like you can buy organic frozen veggies and just have it in the freezer. It's quick and it's cheaper sometimes than buying fresh. There are so many strategies that, you can get food, and it's not going to have to be so expensive to get organic. And of course, as much as you can, you want to get organic produce. But I always say, like, it's also not available for everybody depending where you live. And I say, like, stick to the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. The Environmental Working Group puts it out every year, a list of the Dirty Dozen, which are the 12 fruits and veggies that have the most chemicals on them, the most pesticides. And even after washing, like, they linger, like, and so you're eating that. And so you want to stay away. Like, if you can't get that organically, you may want to skip those. And then the Clean 15, if you can't get those organically, like avocados are often pretty clean. If you can't get an organic avocado, get an avocado. Just get that, like, get that into your kids, even if it's not organic. Or maybe you can find certain things on the Dirty Dozen list, like strawberries are on there very often. Like, get the organic ones in the frozen section. And make smoothies out of it. There's so many things. I mean, smoothies are a great breakfast option. Some protein in there, some healthy fats in there, organic fruits and veggies. And oftentimes, I get it into my kids. They don't even know that there are, like, greens in there and all kinds of things that they would not touch, because it's like either chocolate or vanilla protein in there, some almond milk, and it tastes delicious. It tastes like a treat. So, like give them that. They're going to love that instead of a sugary cereal for breakfast. That's a great way to start the day. And then something too that's really important is taking out the things that are inflammatory. And, something that we know that most kids on the spectrum are sensitive to gluten and dairy. And there are many ways that gluten and dairy is inflammatory, right? Gluten causes leaky gut, even in healthy people. So when we eat a gluten-containing product, anything, bagel, pasta, whatever it is, we get transient leaky gut. So our intestine is a barrier. It's a physical barrier, and it's got very tight junctions. Like it's closed off. It prevents anything from going from the intestine into the bloodstream, except for, small peptides and water and nutrients that get absorbed into the bloodstream. What happens in leaky gut, we literally get holes poked into that intestine where now large particles pass through, bacteria, food particles, and that causes inflammation. Now, for gluten, it is so inflammatory that even healthy people without any issues with gluten will poke holes in their intestine while it's being digested. Now, in those people, it'll close back up. So it's called transient leaky gut. But for many people and for a lot of our neurodiverse kiddos, they have leaky gut. They are sensitive to that. And so gluten will cause leaky gut. Casein, dairy products will cause leaky gut. But for them, especially in autism, we have studies on this where they have gliadorphins and casomorphins, which is casein from milk and gluten gliadin from wheat products, which don't get fully digested. And they stay in these kind of opioid-like proteins, molecules, and they actually resemble morphine. They are addictive. They cause cognitive symptoms. And also when the child doesn't eat it, they're going to crave it and have more irritability and all of these things because they actually need it. And interestingly enough, more of kids on the spectrum have casomorphins in their bloodstream and gliadorphins. And so we know there's this component of they're not fully able to digest these because casomorphins and gliadorphins are basically undigested. You're supposed to break them down into smaller peptides that the body can then use. They are not broken down fully. They stay as these bigger molecules. They enter the bloodstream and they enter the brain. They cross a blood-brain barrier. So leaky gut, leaky brain. And so it affects them on all these levels. So I say, like, if you don't have a test and, you're not going that route and you want to try things out, you can bet that gluten and dairy are playing a role and remove those highly inflammatory foods from your kid's diet and see what effect it has on them.
Wow. Thank you so much, Yana. I mean, our time has just flown by.
Oh my gosh, has it really been that long? It feels like it's been a minute.
Yeah, it has. Is there one thing you want to leave our audience with today?
For parents of neurodiverse kids, I think all parents have fears and struggles and hopes and dreams for the kids. And I think for parents who have a neurodiverse child, it's so much more so where you have these worries. You feel like your child is broken because everything in our society is saying that you need to fix them. They need therapy. They need social skills. They need all of these things. And, I invite you to think about it as just, Teresa, what you said at the beginning of our conversation, different. It's not a disorder. They're different. Their brains work differently. And there's so many gifts, like the creativity, their connection, their intuition, the way they relate to other people on a different level. Like our neurodiverse kids just see what a lot of other people don't. And try things, your child best. Like moms know what you know what your child needs. Don't let other people tell you, like, you can get guidance, you can, listen, but don't let somebody tell you like, this is black and white. I have seen kids who with diagnoses who have not met the criteria for autism and ADHD once they have decreased inflammation, once they have taken care of the gut, once they have given their kids nutrients. Just these natural things have taken a child from being diagnosed to not being, for all intents and purposes, on the spectrum or, meet the diagnosis anymore. That is huge.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. Wow. Well, thank you so much, Miss Yana, Dr. Yana. It's been awesome chatting with you. I've learned so much from you. Parents, where can they find you so they can learn more?
My social handle is atypically.awesome. I'm on Instagram mostly, and I share a lot of the things that you can do, like the bite-sized tips that you can implement in your household to help your kids. And then if you want to go more in depth, you just go to my website. It's atypicallyawesome.com. And I offer free consultations. Feel free to hop on a call with me. And, I will tell you, if this is something that can help your child and just the strategies that you can implement for your family to help your kids.
Thank you. Thank you. And to our audience, thank you so much for watching. And we'll see you next week, same time, same channel.